Having moved across various countries several times, my sister and I use English as our dominant language. Although we are half Filipino and half Vietnamese, our fluency in Filipino is quite weak, and our knowledge of Vietnamese is extremely basic. When someone asks, "What is your mother tongue?" we hesitate to say either of these languages because we don't use them at a native level. And if we say English, that isn't technically our mother tongue. In 2020, Asia comprised over 40% of the world's international migrants. Asians migrate all over the world, to Europe, Canada, the UK, Australia, the US, in order to let their kids integrate as quickly as possible and adapt to the everyday practices of the dominant culture. Many parents do not teach their native language, like ours did. What are the causes of not being able to speak one's native language? First, location. Most children who live abroad can understand and use their parents' language to some limited degree, but ultimately, your location influences how you speak, write, listen, and think. Going to school or a workplace where everyone speaks a different language other than yours makes you want to fit in. You would have to speak the language to progress and make friends. You have to use this language every day. Children of immigrants almost always grow up to use the language of the country they are living in as their primary language. The first generation of those who migrate are usually native fluent. And if the family decides to settle in the country, each successive generation has to decide if they will learn or teach the language to the next generation. On the other hand, those raised in more concentrated Asian populations have been shown to have a much higher language retention rate than those who weren't. As a result, places like LA with a higher Asian population thus have higher chances to practice, hear, and see their own native language every day. All in all, location plays an important role of defining what your primary language is. The next point is practice. Language is something that is spoken, heard, written, expressed, and practiced. When you don't practice a language every day, it gets harder and harder to use it. People who spend extended periods abroad learning and speaking another language will experience some kinds of problems with their native language. This is called language attrition, and signs may include being blocked by a word from the other language, becoming hesitant and disfluent, using a lot of pauses, ums, using odd expressions and collocations, developing a foreign accent, and coming to feel like a foreigner in your own mother tongue. But ultimately, the main cause of not knowing how to speak your own language is lack of purpose. The whole reason that people move in the first place is to search for better education, work, or a better future. This report found that better English in a country correlates with higher income, higher levels of innovation, and a better quality of life. So it makes a lot of sense that a lot of people want to prioritize learning the country's language rather than their own. Maintaining multiple languages isn't easy, and it takes a lot of time, dedication, and effort to learn one. In our case, both Tagalog and Vietnamese are placed in category 2 and 3 of language learning difficulty, requiring much more time to learn for English speakers. Other Asian languages are considered to be even harder, such as Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and Arabic, which are considered to be the hardest for English speakers to learn. Many Asian languages have very little in common with the major Western European languages. Their language ancestry is not the same. Some alphabets are written in completely different characters. Everything from the sounds, grammar, expressions, and idioms are different. There are also other factors that discourage learning and speaking one's native language, like the societal pressure to adapt into new environments and communities, people looking down on you if you don't know how to speak the language, the peer pressure to look cool and fit in, native speakers laughing at you for having a funny accent, and no adequate learning support for learning one's native language. But there are many people who grow up perfectly bilingual or even multilingual, and it isn't at all impossible to continue to speak your own native mother tongue. Even if you are away from your country of origin, research shows that you can still retain your native language with the continued effort, usage, and exposure. In fact, recent research from the University of York suggests that knowledge of a language can be astonishingly stable over long periods of time, even without regular use. And it would not take a great amount of learning to pick a language back up again at the point where it was left off. Starting from the age of 12, there are strong indications that a native language will stabilize, and it is less likely that people beyond this age will ever fully forget their first language. So why learn your native language? Knowing how to speak more languages increases opportunities, widens your circle, and can even correlate to a higher salary in jobs. Not to mention, knowing how to speak your native language allows you to connect with your family and relatives. For parents, young children have the ability to pick up multiple languages simultaneously, and it is important to do so at an early age, especially towards the age of 12. Although the best time to learn or relearn a language is when you were a child, the next best time is now. Take the initiative to improve in your target language. Be open-minded and not ashamed to learn. While searching for sources for this video, we came across a great source worth checking out called languageattrition.org, covering how to prevent losing your language and debunking myths on language attrition. En plus, you can always join Asian culture clubs or Facebook groups in your community, and you could subscribe to our channel for more Asian-related content. Additionally, my sister has started learning Vietnamese on Duolingo again and talking with her mom in Vietnamese using basic phrases and starting basic conversations as well. I'm hoping to do the same over the summer. For a few reminders, you should never assume and never embarrass someone who doesn't speak the language of their parents' origins. It is important to carry on and celebrate our cultures no matter where we are in the world.